Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It's the weekend edition. We're going to check out SPX, SPY, go through all the other indices. We are going to talk about the strength that the market has shown. Is that just pulling in bulls to start to go lower? Or is that the bottom is in and we're breaking out? That's the big question. And, I'm going to show you a bunch of things that that could go, really in either direction. So what that says to me is that we're in a pretty neutral spot where the bulls did some work, to pull this thing together. But in my opinion, we still have some bias to the downside. Okay, and I think we're going to test the lows, but we'll see. So we have SPX on the monthly time frame. I like to start off here so we can really show you where we came from, and that's from 1929. We have that trend line of 2000 into 2025. That's where we're breaking down from. I think we're going to have a very, very large correction, whether it be a flat pattern similar to 2008, whether it be a diamond shape where the inflation period here, where you made higher highs and lower lows multiple times. So you have bear markets and bull markets and bear markets and bull markets. Oh my. All right. So I think that is definitely in the cards where we just go sideways for a while. It just depends how that looks. Could it be a triangle finally? I don't see any triangles. An expanded, right, wedge, but I don't see any triangles that large. Maybe that's what happens here. So I do have a big picture bear market 2025 video that I'll post on here at the end of this video. So make sure you stick around and play this at 1.25 or 1.5 speed so you can get a lot of this information in shorter amount of time. All right, we're looking at a naked chart right now. We also have this trend line from 2008, 2021, and 2025. So we get this huge move to the downside very quickly. And look at this candle. Now we only have 3 trading days left of the month, but what a doji. Is that just telling us that we're in the start of a new bull market here? If we go to new highs, some people think so. We do have a scenario played out that we constantly go through on the daily time frame. So make sure you check out those daily videos as well. I'm not going to go through all of those items this week. We're just going to stick on the big picture and see if we can keep our big picture analysis, which is more important than the lower time frames, on directional bias. Okay, so our moving averages. All right, we're holding the 20-month moving average. We had the huge wick through it. The 8 EMA is still to the downside, so momentum is turning, is rolling over, but we're holding trend. Okay, so that keeps us, like I said, bulls repaired some things, and we have somewhat of a neutral stance just looking at the candle and moving averages at this point. Do we have a demarc? This is going to take a lot of time on the monthly and the weekly, but we'll constantly look at that. We have a 1 and a 2 so far. So I won't waste your time, going through those too fast, but I need to watch these each and every week progress, right? We do it on the lower time frames as well. So on the monthly time frame, we have a bear break. We have a sell signal here. You see the red histogram starting to form. So that's a check for the bears. We are well into bull territory. And if price did make a new high here, in our one scenario that we have played out to go test those trend lines to the upside, all that would do is form a negative divergence on the monthly time frame, which we don't have at this point. We do on RSI, but not the MACD. RSI played out, got to that oversold territory in this candle, but if it closes up this bullish, then we're not oversold yet. So on these higher time frames, if we do test a new low there, I would love again to see this get into an oversold position, which it is not in at the moment. So we had our sell signal on the monthly for the slow stroke as well. So, although big moves, big swings, we have the headwind against the bulls right now. All right, let's go to SPY. Here's just another look from SPY. We don't have the information going back to 1929. Now we can look at the volume profile. Didn't quite get still to the shelf that I was talking about in the past. About 460 is where that shelf is. I like the price to get to that point. We got down there pretty quick where there's a lot less volume here, but we actually have a shelf on the 460. It'd be nice to test that before getting a larger bounce. Let's go to the Qs. Now we'll just take some visuals off of this. Close but no cigar on the trend line test here. We actually have a green candle on the monthly. Wow. But here's our trend from 2009, the bottom there. And I guess that's, if you make this as a zone, then we already touched it. But unfinished business if we have not. SMH. SMH, again, same thing with the Qs, same thing with SPY, just looks like unfinished business. We have a nice green candle there from the breakdown. This is just really a back test here. There's a way we could draw that as well if you look at this as a equilibrium. And we're just back testing at that point. Just from a visual. IWM. Still red, but still a huge wick here. In my opinion, when this is done, if it is not already, I think we're going to have a bounce and then we fail from there. I think we're looking for a 5-wave move lower, and we should test and or break down from this pivot here. There's only 2 touches, so it's a pivot. It's not a trend line. DIA, we have our trend line here. And very similar to SMH, huge wick, a little bit more bearish on DIA, and we're just backtesting that trend line. Okay, and again, this could be just considered a pivot with 2 touches there. So when I refer to, I need to be more specific, because when I refer to a trend line, I'm just really looking at just a line, right? So this pivot here. VIX, looking, huge wick right now, but we had a breakout here. This huge range, you could see all the price action in here. And so far, we're just back testing. We broke out. So if we break down, it looks like about 22, around the 22 area. Anything down there, maybe we're getting back into the range, but at this point, it's just, so far, we're looking to back test. I'm going to click over to MJ. I had that in the notes. MJ, I just want to show this. So we talked about in the Discord, and by the way, if you want to be a part of the Discord, I have a 99-cent program here, the membership for YouTube, and it's all part of the Discord. So the Discord comes with whether you're a Patreon or a YouTube member. And what we mentioned in here was that we potentially have a bottom. We have this nice bottoming candle so far in the monthly time frame. We have all the setups that we talked about in the past videos, and I do have that video. I'll post it up top, the last analysis we had at about 9 minutes here, the 9-minute mark. And so the one main thing I want to get out of this is, okay, well, we're jumping into MJ. Where can it go? Well, first of all, with the analysis, you'll hear me say this is possibly a corrective move, and I also compared it to when SMH, the semiconductors, came out after the exuberant move from the tech bubble. And same thing here. When retailers are jumping into marijuana stocks, they're so excited, and then an ETF comes out that you can buy into, and it just completely tanks on everybody, right? So that's what SMH did. Go look at that video. It's so eerily similar. But what I want to show is, where could it go? First of all, we can make new highs. If this is corrective, we're going to make new highs, period, right? Is this industry going away? That's the big question. That's all the way up to 545. I think this is a generational buy, and we'll be plugging into this name as you members in the Discord have seen. We've bought into this every week. So here's our first target, our first major target after we break new highs. If the low is in, is 690. Okay, so that's just what I want to show there. Let's move on. Let's go back to SPY and start over with our weekly. Okay, change boards. Our weekly look here. So we have our low here, our possible trend line. We have a low here, here, and here that I know that dips through for that ascending triangle, the back test, and then we ripped off of that. So if we leave the low right here with this trend line, here we are. We're just back testing. Okay, so bulls have more work to do. In other words, megaphone pattern that we've been watching out for, back testing. It's just a back test so far. All right. Now, do we get down to these lows where, I think we make a new low? If IWM is any saying this in the Magnificent Seven, then we're going to hit these lows. So that's what I talked about in Friday's video. You can check that out. The market moved up a little bit higher, grinded higher on Friday. So I did an intraday, just a heads up with that. So let's moving averages. Boom. 8 EMA, 20 moving average here. All right. Now we know we're going to go test this 20 moving average, the simple moving average, eventually for the kiss of death. Is it now? Or is it later? That's really, really what we're going to look for in the future. But momentum is to the downside right now. 8 EMA, back test. We'll see if we can hold this 100 if we do go test the lows. But this is a pretty bearish scenario on the weekly time frame. So I would love to see this 200 moving average, 200 moving average for the weekly time frame that comes into our bounce area where we just talked about that 460, and we have a volume shelf at but the 470 area. So let's check that out. And even as high as 475, but with momentum volatility, if this is the case, spike through there and run all the stops and things like that, scare people. So again, just know that we're not quite out of the woods yet, and we'll be looking for at least a test of the lows. We'll see what kind of reaction we get off of price action coming this week. And let's go to the Qs. I guess we can leave on the moving averages here. Same thing, testing the 8 EMA. Let's see if there's something on the weekly board. Something. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're above it, but again, this is with volatility and these huge moves. You see price action moves around. This old megaphone price action we had, that's all we're doing was we're back testing once again. SMH on the weekly. Now, this is, I'm playing around with the channel here. Is this where it's going to be? Not necessarily. Right now, here's the lows. Perhaps we have these two lows here. It's a bull flag when we make new highs, right? That's what ABC looks like. That's not my count, though. I actually have this as a leading diagonal where this might make a new low into the 20. And let me take this off so I'm not confusing you. And we get down to this really good support here, this former resistance and a breakout. Okay, and this is around 160. So I'm looking at this as a 1, 2, 3, wave 4 is here, and wave 5, and the count works out perfect there. This looks different than NVIDIA, but it really has the same essence as SMH and DIA and the Magnificent 7 as well. And so we're just really testing into the 8 EMA and also the 100 here. And if we get new lows, that would be a beautiful, beautiful setup. And we'll get positive divergence all over the place and be a great entry point. DIA, weekly board. Again, unfinished business. If it needs to go down there, it doesn't have to. We never reached it at this point, you know, the 200 moving average. So we'll see, but we're 8 EMA trending down, 20 trending down. It's a momentum's down, trend is down on the weekly time frame. So we're gonna obviously get all these mixed signals because all the time frames are not matching one another. So here's the weekly. Still did not make it down to the 170. We're underneath the 200 moving average on the weekly. And this is the most bearish chart right here, in my opinion. And I do think we'll get a larger correction. I just think that we're looking to make one more low first. And then especially in this one, if this one is correct, and again, on the daily time frame, you can see where we got our retracements and how we count this and stuff like that. But we broke down from this wedge, and the big picture, to me, says we make it down lower, and then we have a larger correction. And VIX. All right, the weekly time frame. We had this bullish falling wedge, broke out from it. Had some price action here, which formed an inverse head and shoulder. It really wild ride here. Broke out, back tested, and just ripped. You know, with the whole Liberation Day and such. So we bounced off. We got a reaction off the 8 EMA. We're underneath there. Is this going to back test back down to the 20? And this doesn't look like it's done. So if this is done, then the market's going to reverse. We'll have to see what the VIX does. And if we look again on yesterday's video, it's forming a wedge. So this is kind of deceiving, but at this point, there's no real reversal candle. All right. So this, I would give a little bit of a check mark to the bias to the bulls for the overall market. Assuming that this comes down a little bit more, we're just kind of in no man's land right here, underneath the 8 EMA and in between the 20. But again, the 20 moving average is headed up. The trend is up, even though we're losing momentum on this move. And again, MJ, just from a different point of view here. Here's the weekly bullish falling wedge into a potential channel. Bitcoin, just give a glimpse of this, and then we'll go down to the daily time frame. So for Bitcoin, it appears we're breaking out of a flag, a bull flag. Had a nice big move here. Now, do we get any chance to jump back in? Not sure about that. It loves to move. Maybe we just get a pause and it continues. So we'll see. We'll look to see if we have any entry there. But at any point, I might fire off in-out spread. Now, I've been harping on those. They've been working out very, very well. Actually, the perfect so far. We do have pending trades still, so it doesn't mean that they're all going to go through, but just really nailing them. And I'll post that video up top at the 19 minute mark there. Let's go to SPY. Let's go to SPX. So SPX on the daily. Here we are. So we moved our trend line back here. So, looking at this as a possible completed wave, whether you count it as a 5 or 3 wave, it looks like a 3-wave move just from a glance. This could say that this move is done, right, in this trend. But just keep in mind that past trend, once a trend line is done, once a move is done, let me give us a couple more years here. Like 2022 in the correction, you have a huge move. And if we start drawing trend lines and such, we broke down again, like a new low here, but we had to move the trend line over. We're above it at this point. We actually had a double top there. And then you had this huge correction, and then you have to change you have another downtrend line still because you're just getting a lower high. So yes, the downtrend definitely kept you if you were in this move to begin with. But I'm sure that bulls were full force in here saying we're going to brand new highs and such, and you had a double top, but really the trend was lower there. And so a trend line really is just for a visual on market movement, making lower lows and lower highs, right? So, I'm not going to negate it. I'm going to leave it there for our use, but just know that we're still making lower highs, although a corrective move here and a positive structure on the lower time frames, and we're above the 20 and above the 8, but now we're contradicting the weekly. So what's going to end up playing out is the big question. We're at resistance. We're in this gap right now. Do we fill the gap first and then reverse? Do we get a higher? Do we go all the way back to the 200? And this is our actual larger correction before heading lower. I don't have those answers. That's why we go through this each and every day. But if we do break down and we get back underneath this 20 and this 8 moving average, then we know that something else is happening. We're probably going to go to those new lows again. At least we'll have something to put our back against. So let's put on the McClellan summation index. And here's something else. This is really, really helpful to look at each and every week. On the daily analysis, we look at the McClellan oscillator, and we know that that's deeply, deeply overbought right now. And but in my opinion, we're still in a downtrend. All right, we're still following this trend lower. Or the market breadth, a breadth indicator is just weak. Sure, it could show improvement. We can start to get back into that neutral area, but we're well into bear territory. We get a reversal and a new low on this. You better believe not only are we going to have positive divergence everywhere on all our indicators, we're also going to be in this extreme bear oversold condition. And then I think that would be, and it's not up to me, it's about price action, right? But I think that would give us this opportunity for a huge buy into a larger degree correction before heading lower in our, and you can look at that at the 2025 bear market analysis and where we go, possibilities of targets and everything. So this says to me, we're still bearish. The market is weak. And what's lifting us up here is virtually just the large tech market, and with the help of some financials and things like that. But overall, I think this would be a huge setup if this gets lower. If we do get into this bull bear territory, now we're talking about neutral breadth. Okay, we're not even there yet. So we can't even, in this picture, we can't even talk about being really bullish yet. All right. So, again, these have downtrends, and it started well before the top. We started losing all of our breadth right here. And I compared this in the past too. You're in this bull territory, right? And we're losing breadth, even though we're making higher highs here. We have divergence, lower highs. When we broke down from this neutral area, then we stayed there the whole rest of the year. For another year, we were just in here. All right, until we finally had this this huge move, oversold quickly, and just right back down. And that gave us our buy signal there. And this one, it never really signaled anything to us at this point. So there's nothing to trade off of this indicator, which is so accurate. And when you compare it with the McClellan oscillator as well, which is deeply overbought. So that says to me, we might be ready to turn back down pretty soon here and get to this extreme bear area. I know I spent a lot of time on that, but I think it's super important. And now for our options expected move. And for this week, we're looking at a move about 140 points. Where's my expected move? There it is. We're looking at about 140 points to the downside or the upside. And so copy this down if you like to. This is what the option market depicts. Price action happens by the week. We've touched both ends throughout this huge trading range. That's not typical. Volatility is coming down, but it's about equal to last week. And we definitely surpassed that options expected move to the upside plus some. And so this time around, I suspect that we start moving up a little bit higher to the start of the week, but we might have a quick turnaround Tuesday, if not a gap down for Monday, and hit this lower end at least to 5,376.44. These are precise. I do this each and every week. I calculate this by hand, and so here it goes. So let's check this week out. I'd be cautious about these structures. I left this up here the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I think this was just a massive correction. Also, I'll just give you a little bonus here. We did this on the members video. I compared what the what XLF was telling us, and you can kind of compare that to IWM, but it looks just a little bit different here. And here's your expected move, and look at this downtrend line here. Still haven't broken the downtrend. And we're forming this beautiful wedge there. So I showed a couple more wedges. And if you want to consider becoming a $4.99 per month member, that is available to you. You get these individual names. You get all of the options expected moves on the individual names and ETFs that we trade off of. All right. Thanks for joining us here at OptionsTender. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.